Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we are talking about the men who judged Jesus. We talked about Caiaphas yesterday, and today we'll talk about Herod Antipas. Herod Antipas was one of the three surviving sons of Herod the Great when Herod the Great died. Herod was ruling when Jesus was born. He's the one who tried to kill Jesus and did kill all the little boys, 2 years old and younger, there in Bethlehem. His father was an evil, evil man. I say one of the three surviving sons. His brothers didn't die of natural causes. His father had them killed. Most famously, the oldest son, Aristobulus, who was quite capable and popular, his father had him drowned in a swimming pool at a pool party. So that's the kind of household Herod Antipas grew up in. He's called Herod the Tetrarch, which was allowed by the Romans to, under their supervision, to govern 1/4, hence the word tetrarch, of his father's former kingdom. That included Galilee and Perea, two areas that barely shared a border there at the Jordan River, right near the top of the Dead Sea. But those were the two areas in which he was ruling, and of course that's where Jesus is from. Jesus is from Galilee. This is the man who killed John the Baptist, the man who had John the Baptist beheaded. He had John the Baptist put in prison at his fortress at Machaerus, which is at the top of the Red Sea, on the north shore of the Red Sea. Not the Red Sea, excuse me, the Dead Sea, the north shore of the Dead Sea. And had him killed because his stepdaughter, who was also his stepniece, or his niece, his grandniece, who was also his stepniece. That's the kind of family they were. Salome had danced for him, and he offered him half of his kingdom. For what? Just dancing? I don't think so. He was married to Salome's mother, Herodias. Herodias was his sister-in-law and his niece, and she was Herodias' daughter by Herod Antipas's brother. Anyway, he's the one who had John the Baptist killed, and was racked with guilt over that, or at least dread, because he did believe John the Baptist to be God's man, and so he was living in fear of judgment because of having John the Baptist killed. That's why when he heard about Jesus, we are told in the Gospel of Luke chapter 13 that Herod assumed John the Baptist was back to exact his vengeance on him, and so he's trying to kill Jesus, which makes you wonder about not only the hubris of the man, but the intelligence of the man. If the man can perform miracles, why do you think you have the power to take his life unless it's not part of God's grand plan? But he's trying to kill him. And so anyway, Jesus is about to go that way, and the Pharisees come and they say, "Go away from here. Herod wants to kill you." And Jesus says, "You tell that fox," I think that's name calling, "Behold, I cast out demons and perform my goal today and tomorrow, and on the third day I reach my goal. Nevertheless, I must journey on today and tomorrow and the next day. It cannot be that a prophet should perish outside Jerusalem." I love that Jesus says that. It's hilarious and it's sarcastic. Herod can't kill me. Everybody knows prophets die in Jerusalem, which of course is where Jesus is going to die. And that is not only, true. It's also for the past. It's also prophetic for the future, because Jesus is going to be judged by Herod, and we read about that in Luke chapter 8. Pilate, of course, and we'll talk about him tomorrow, knows that Jesus is innocent and is trying to find a way to free Jesus and to at least absolve himself of executing an innocent man, even an innocent Jew. So he sends him to Herod when he finds out Jesus is originally from Galilee, hoping Herod will deal with this. Herod was glad, we're told in verse 8, when he saw Jesus, for he wanted to see him for a long time. He'd been hearing about him, and he hoped to see some miracle performed. He questioned him at length, answered him nothing. Jesus answered him nothing. The chief priests and scribes were standing there accusing him vehemently, and Herod with his soldiers, after treating Jesus with contempt and mocking him, dressed him in a gorgeous robe and sent him back to Pilate. And at that time, Herod and Pilate became friends with one another that very day because they had been at odds with each other to that time. Well, isn't that sweet? Um, he wanted to see Jesus. He's no longer afraid of Jesus because Jesus is a prisoner, but what he wants is a floor show. He wants to be entertained. And when Jesus will not perform a magic trick for him, he uses Jesus for sport and sends him back to Pilate. Well, that's what we read of Herod Antipas in the Bible. Not a good man, and as a Herod, a man who will not die in peace. We're going to talk more about Pilate tomorrow. Thank you for joining me for 5 good minutes.